Interface Video presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and the Frankie Smith Funeral Home.
Hello friends, and welcome to Fairfield Today. We are down here as the one part of this show that is normal is we are here at Fairfield Federal. Beyond that, everything today is off the table. This is undoubtedly the most fun show we do all year down here, and Shane will be showing pictures of a crowd. We have a great crowd. Everybody say hi. Hi. Yeah, you can hear them in the background. We have a great crowd of young people here, and not so young, let's say a little less young people in the background, here with them, all the parents and grandparents today as we're down here, and we have our annual Columbus Zoo show, and gosh, this is so much fun. We just have a great time, and we appreciate the zoo coming back so much. Tiffany Dollins is with us today. Tiffany, thank you for coming. How are you?
I am great. Thanks for having us back. We always enjoy being here.
You're getting to be a regular here. It seemed like a year ago. Oh, it was a year ago.
Yes,
you were on. You were here last year, and we did this and had so much fun, and Tiffany is almost getting to be a regular in Lancaster. Right. Recently, on the Friday night art walk with the Lancaster Festival, Tiffany was down for that, and you were just in the back parking lot.
We were just in the back parking lot. It was rather warm that evening.
Much better today.
The crowd was great, and it's always great to be here. So I'm feeling like a native. Like you said, I'm kind of just fitting right in. I'm learning all the customs and the ways.
How did the animals function in that kind of heat, because it was truly a warm evening?
Yeah, so we kind of take the cues from each animal. Some animals thrive in really warm weather, depending on where they're native to, but what's really great is our enclosures are thermoregulated. We drive very nice thermoregulated vans, and we try and give them like frozen water bottles if that's what they're comfortable with, keep them nice and cool, obviously very hydrated, as it's important for us to stay hydrated in those types of temperatures as well. But it's a great crowd out there, and they were very, they were really great with us taking breaks when needed and kind of taking those cues from the animals. Absolutely.
They're hot, they understand.
Yeah,
You're
right?
hot, the animals are hot.
We were all in the same boat that evening.
Animals might not need a break, but you need a break.
Exactly.
Well, who do we have with us that's going to come in right now?
Well, Rachel is the human that's going to be bringing us a lot of the animals today. And
what do we have here, a softball?
Right, or a coconut.
A coconut.
This is Bonita.
Bonita,
and she's probably the animal that we have to convince people that she's real. People are always like, well, is she real? Is she alive? And I always tell people we only bring real live animals when we travel with the zoo. So she's very alive, although she seems like she's sleeping right now. We'll wake her up here in a minute. She's referred to as a three-banded armadillo.
Is that native to the United States?
So most people are familiar with armadillos from the southern portion of the United States.
Texas, Oklahoma, out in Mexico, out in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, those are 9-banded armadillos.
Oh, okay.
So she may look a little bit different from those that we find in the southern U.S. She's called a 3-banded.
Okay.
And she gets her name from those 3 bands there on her back.
Well there, Shane, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so
would the 9 have 9?
9 bands,
really?
Exactly. Now, a lot of times we get focused in on these little areas in between the bands. And those are kind of like our elbow.
Okay.
So the 3-banded is unlike any other type of armadillo. They're the only ones that can curl up completely into a ball.
Really?
So that's her head and that's her tail. It seems like it was perfectly designed to fit together.
Now, is this a comfort mode she's in, a sleeping mode, a protective mode?
Absolutely. It's what we would refer to as a defense mechanism.
Okay.
So she really doesn't have a lot of other natural defenses other than transforming into this ball here. Now, what you're touching is something else that helps protect her. Armadillo actually means little armored one.
Yeah, kind of hard there, hard shell.
Mm-hmm. What would you compare that to? Maybe something that we have on our body.
I don't know.
Fingernail.
I was going to say fingernail,
yeah,
but
it's actually made out of keratin.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm. So you can kind of think of Bonita, if we put her down here on the table, see if she wants to wake up this morning.
There she is.
She's kind of wearing a protective toenail
Okay.
Essentially. And that is what helps protect her from any danger. You'll notice that Bonita is very used to coming out and about. She knows
as soon
that,
as you set her down.
yeah,
Bang.
she has been at the Columbus Zoo her entire life. She's actually been a mom 3 times at the Columbus Zoo.
Is that right?
And she is very comfortable with coming out, but she also knows that this is comfortable when we pick her up. So that's what she will do. It's not that she's scared or nervous, because again, as soon as we put her down,
she knows
she'll
when she
open
moves
right
it.
back up. It's almost like she has us trained, because sometimes when we pick
who's
her
the
up,
trainer here?
exactly, training the trainer. But she's an insectivore. So if we
Okay.
were outside on the grass and she got a taste of running
She'd be
around,
moving
when I
around.
pick her up, she probably wouldn't curl up into a ball like this, because she's trained us that if she doesn't curl up, we'll put her back down.
Now, does she have pretty rapid moving skills? If you put her out in the grass and she's someplace, can she get along pretty good?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
only put her down on the ground if I wear my running shoes to work. Because if she doesn't find an area where there's lots of insects that she wants to forage for, she'll keep moving. And she looks like she's kind of running on stiletto high heels.
Yeah, I guess they got some long nails
Yeah,
there.
she can get moving pretty quickly. And those claws actually help her. I don't know if you guys can see them there, but they actually help her dig for her bugs.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, and the reason that you see her little feet shake is, again, she just wants down.
Yeah,
She's
she
not
likes
scared
that.
or nervous. Exactly.
Yeah.
She would curl up into a ball otherwise, but you'll notice her eyes are kind of on the sides of her
Yes,
head.
like
so
on the side, yeah.
she's wearing a helmet because she doesn't have the best eyesight.
Okay.
So she's kind of nice and protected there, but she also needs to rely on her sense of smell. With that and the little whiskers that sense movement
Oh,
and
I see
vibration,
that, yeah.
she can sense an insect from about 8 inches under the ground.
And when she closes up, that's tight there.
That's tight. We all are always very cautious when we have people touch her and interact with her. We only have them touch her on her back. She's so strong she could break a pencil in half.
Really.
So again, she can't really bite. The opening of her mouth is very small. She has molar-like teeth for mashing up her food. But other
Insects,
than
typically.
insects, typically, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes some low-lying berries, maybe that
Okay.
she can mash up. At the zoo, one of her favorite things to eat is avocado and egg yolk, because it's very soft and mashable, and it provides her with all of those healthy fats.
So
that
she likes
needs.
guacamole.
Guacamole, that's
Excellent,
right.
excellent,
She's
very
from
good.
South America, so south of the border, she loves her guacamole.
Now, what's the age span from how long would they live?
Yeah, so she's 16 years old. She's 16. Now, we have a couple at the zoo that are a little bit older than her, and they're still doing quite well. So we typically see them live to be in their late teens, early 20s. And again, she's had several babies at the zoo. On the outside, they kind of look scaly, like a reptile.
yeah.
People think, well, maybe they are egg layers. Maybe they're an egg-laying mammal. There's actually 2 egg-laying mammals in the world. The armadillo's not one, but here a little later in the show, we're going to meet one of our egg-laying mammals.
All right, we've got 4 or 5 animals for you to see today. The zoo has been wonderful in bringing these animals here, and the kids are just fascinated by this. So we're going to make a little change out here. We're going to get this moving on. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back with the Columbus Zoo, and Rachel and Tiffany are just doing a great job here. We've got several animals, like we say. We've been through the armadillo phase, and that's always fun to see. They're so cute little things. But now something a little different, and they've named them. I didn't name this. This is Tiffany, and this is Chanel.
Chanel, that's right, like the perfume.
Okay.
Because as we know, this animal, which is native to Ohio, is actually quite fragrant.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
So how long have you had her?
Well, we have had Chanel probably going on about 4 years
Okay.
since she was just a little baby. And she's probably one that gets the biggest reaction when we bring her out, because normally they come with quite the stigma, right?
You heard the folks ooh and
Yes,
ahhing.
you heard the ooh and ah, and most people, it's not an ooh and ah because, oh, she's so cute, which obviously she is, but it's more fearful because we're always told to stay away
Sure,
from skunks.
sure.
They're native to Ohio, so it's great to be familiar with them, because no one wants to catch themselves in an interaction with a skunk. That's a big time commitment afterwards, getting that kind of smell off of you.
Have you had a zoo moment with a skunk?
I have not had a zoo moment with a skunk. Now, personally, I've been out walking the dogs, and I have seen skunks from afar,
Close
and
enough.
I stay clear because
Yes.
you see, skunks are really confusing to dogs. When dogs are excited, they wag their tail, right? When they want to meet another dog, where do they go? To the tail end,
Right.
and they greet each other that
Not
way.
good.
Not good, that's right. So if a dog were to see a skunk out in the wild, They may think it is another companion, another buddy, and they want to say hello. Well, skunks are very intimidated by dogs, and they have different ways of showing that. So what they'll do is they'll give a lot of warning signs first. They will turn around, they'll stick that tail up in the air.
And the dog perhaps interprets
The
that.
dog might be like, hey, this dog wants me to come over and sniff it because it's got its tail up, wagging in the air.
How's that working out?
Well, then the skunk is going to really start to put out the warning. He's going to first stomp his feet, and then the dog gets really confused, like, oh, it wants to play, so it gets a little bit closer. But then if all else fails, that skunk, of course, is going to put out that nice little fragrant spray. And it's really the last thing a skunk wants to do because it takes a lot of energy to do that. And if they do it for a dog, which really isn't a huge harm for it really can't turn around and do it towards an actual predator right away. It kind of has to replenish that. So skunks really, like I said, they don't want to put out that smell unless they have to. So if you ever encounter a skunk, just kind of turn the other direction. Don't try and go towards it. It probably won't follow you.
Yeah.
Like I said, it'll probably just steer clear of you. And skunks are actually good animals to have around. I don't know if you guys see these claws.
Those are really claws.
Yeah, they use them for digging. And so we do give Chanel very frequent pedicures, but her nails tend to be very long because they use them for digging in the wild. And where we don't necessarily want a skunk digging through our garden, they will eat grubs and things that tear up our lawn.
Sure.
So they're actually really good to have around. And like I said, they're going to give a lot of warning. Skunks have this nice black and white pattern, not to camouflage, but actually to stand out. So if you notice on this striped skunk, and every striped skunk has kind of a different pattern.
Oh, really?
We also have spotted skunks in North America.
Really?
So we have the spotted and the striped skunk. But with this lady here, her nice white stripes are kind of pointing right back to where you might have an encounter.
Follow the white stripes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you ever wake up in the morning and you smell a skunk, it could be over 10 miles away.
Really?
So that is just how far their smell.
So if you drive down the road, you might not be able to see anything.
You might not be able to see it. You're looking over your shoulder. You're thinking, where is this coming from? It could be up to 10 miles away that skunk actually sprayed.
Wow.
And if you're lucky enough, you're not going to smell it at all. About 1 in 1,000 people do not have the ability to smell a skunk.
Really?
So if you've ever smelled it, you're not one of those 1 in 1,000.
There are moments I wish I was that
right?
person.
I'm sure we've all had that time where we're like, okay, that's not the best smell.
Okay.
Definitely don't want to. But just to reiterate with Chanel, she's been at the Columbus Zoo her entire life.
Okay.
She actually does not have the ability to spray.
Okay.
So you might notice she has kind of a musky odor. She still has those scent glands. She just had a little snip, a little procedure so that she can't actually spray her scent.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Very good. She is so cute.
She's very
We've seen
cute.
2 very cute ones so far.
Yes.
Today is cute day with the zoo
I
so
think
far.
so. I
All
think
right,
so. I
very
tend to
good.
lean towards the cuter
All
animals.
right, very good. We've had Chanel here. We'll be back with more from the Columbus Zoo in a moment. Our Columbus Zoo show continues, and Rachel is brought over. I'm not a real knowledgeable person, but I'm going to guess maybe we're seeing a porcupine.
Well, that would be a really good guess. Not a porcupine.
But not right.
Not right. Not a right guess, but not a bad guess, right?
Okay, all
so
right.
you'll see they have some similarities. But remember when I was talking about the armadillo, and I said it kind of looks reptile-ish, but it's a mammal, and some
Right.
people might think that it's an egg layer.
Yep.
There are only 2 egg-laying mammals in the world. The platypus,
Okay.
which this is not a platypus,
Okay.
and an echidna. Echidna is what Edna is here.
You're not kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you,
Okay.
no. So her name is Edna. And
Edna the echidna.
Edna the echidna, and she's referred to as a short-beaked echidna. Now, some people may have never heard of an echidna, but they might be familiar with Sonic and Knuckles, the video game.
Exactly, Sonic.
So Sonic was a hedgehog.
I'm going to say a hedgehog.
Knuckles, his sidekick, an echidna.
An echidna.
An echidna.
Wow.
So kind of a lesser known fact about the video game, but these are a little bit different than porcupine quills. This is what we would refer to as a spine, and spines are what hedgehogs have as well. So I would say this is more similar to a hedgehog than a porcupine in that manner. But again, this is one of our egg-laying mammals. So still very distantly related. They are both mammals. Believe it or not, these are just modified hairs.
Really?
So Edna actually sheds these just like we shed the hair on our head and how your dog or cat at home would shed its fur. So when we go in to take care of Edna, we will sometimes find these little spines in her bedding. Because again, she's going to shed them just like her hair. And if you touch her in between, you'll notice she actually has fine little soft hairs.
there is there.
And if we can pick her up here and show the camera, her belly is actually very soft fur as well.
I can see that.
So she has
Much more like a normal animal.
Yeah, so the spines on the top are just really to deter predators. They're really not going to give her that much protection. Really, it's just like eating hot soup.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. You're probably going to learn your lesson. You're not going to
First time they've done
right.
that, maybe not again.
Exactly. So an animal's going to come up to her. They might try to take a bite. It's not very comfortable. They're going to leave her alone, and maybe they will have a greater understanding the next time.
And maybe you told me, where is she native to?
So she is actually from Australia and New Zealand. We actually give them the nickname the spiny anteater of Australia and New Zealand. They're insectivores, much like the anteater. So you'll see that beak is used for sensory.
That is a beak. You
yeah,
can see it really
so it's
moving
a little
it
snout.
around.
It's not really a beak like a bird. It's more of a snout. But they'll use that for sensing around because you might have a hard time finding her eyes.
Yeah.
They're super teeny tiny, and she can't see very well. So she's really going to use the sensory in that beak or that snout to help her find insects. And then she's got a long, sticky tongue like an anteater.
And I guess that's typical of animal or anybody, that if their eyes aren't good or something is not good, they have very good something else. In
That's
her case,
right.
sensory kind of.
That's right. They're going to compensate in other ways. Now, this animal is truly incredible because they're going to burrow under the ground, and she has the ability to live at cooler temperatures and lower oxygen levels for extended periods of time. So if you think about like mining, you know, if there's no oxygen underground, you're not going to be able to survive. Under the ground where it's dark and it's cold and there's not a lot of oxygen flow, that's where she's actually going to thrive. She's going to be very safe under the ground there. And again, if we pick her up, you'll notice her feet are specially designed for digging.
I can
They're
see
like
that.
corkscrews. So she is like her own little built-in dirt driver. And if you put her down on the ground, she's going to anchor herself into the ground immediately and just start digging downward.
Is that right? She
And
wants to burrow.
That's right. That is what she feels comfortable. So if you notice, we're making a bit of a mess here. And that's because back at the zoo, she lives in dirt.
Oh, is
We
that
have
right?
a big ag trough, and we just fill it with lots of moist peat
She
moss.
is in her element.
She's in her element. She does her thing then when she's down in the dirt. And this morning, we actually had to put on our gloves and dig for her to be able to find her because she was under all that nice, moist, cool dirt
see
that
a
we
little
give
bits
for
with
her.
her a little bit.
Exactly. And then because she's an insectivore and she slurps up all different kind of bugs, it would be very hard for us to provide that to her on a daily basis. So we do give her some insects like mealworms and waxworms for enrichment, but we actually feed her like a nice meat pate. And she's able to
Yum.
lap that up with her tongue. Yes, it's very appetizing working in the animal diet kitchen at the zoo. All of different kinds of fun stuff that these guys like to eat.
All right, very good, Tiffany. Edna is so cute. The kids will love her. We'll be back.
Yeah.
More on Fairfield Today in a moment.
The Frank E. Smith Funeral Home and Crematory in Lancaster and the Johnson Smith Funeral Home in Baltimore have a long and wonderful history of serving our community. Feel free to give us a call at 740-653-0652. Stop in and see us at either of our two locations, 405 North Columbus Street in Lancaster or 207 South Main Street in Baltimore. Respect for tradition, regard for change.
All right, we are back in the Columbus Zoo, and they're getting a little bigger and a little bit different. I was going to say a turtle, but I heard you say this is not a turtle, perhaps a tortoise.
It is a tortoise, but you also would not be wrong by saying turtle. So the way that we remember it is all tortoises are turtles, but not all turtles are tortoises.
Okay.
So Lucky actually is considered to be a turtle, but she is a terrestrial turtle, and we name those tortoises.
A terrestrial,
A
all
terrestrial,
over the earth? Or
which
what?
means she only lives on dry earth.
Oh, okay.
So the biggest difference between turtles and or semi-aquatic or aquatic turtles and tortoises is that turtles need to live in or near the water typically to survive, whether it be they swim in the ocean or they live near a lake to find their food, go in and out to swim and to soak. Lucky actually doesn't need any water her entire life. She gets all the water that she needs from the plants that she eats.
Really?
Because another big difference is tortoises are herbivores and
Okay.
turtles are omnivores.
Okay.
So they'll eat, again, fish and insects as well as plants. Where Lucky, she's an African leopard tortoise. She comes from the grasslands of
I just wanna see
Africa.
that, yeah.
So she has those nice leopard-like spots. She eats the tall grasses in which she lives, and that gives her all the hydration that she needs. So in the 20 years now that Lucky's lived at the Columbus Zoo, we give her water every day. Sometimes she'll soak in it, but I've never seen her drink any water at all. She stays very well hydrated from the mounds of grass that she eats, hay, and different salad
So
items.
20 years you've had her. What's the span here?
So Lucky here is almost 70 years old, we believe. Now, we will never know Lucky's exact story.
Can't count rings?
Yeah, you can kind of look at the scoots and the growth lines, and that'll give you kind of a rough estimate. But Lucky has kind of a unique story. You see, she has been at the zoo for about 20 years.
Yeah.
We believe she's around 70, 75. We'll never know for sure because she was actually found crossing Highway 161 in the middle of Columbus, Ohio.
And I know all the animals have cute names. I know now why she's
Yes,
lucky.
she was very lucky. So Lucky was actually found in the fall. So the temperature was just starting to get into those cooler evenings. It was almost winter time where we lose all of our greenery here in Ohio, and she would not be able to survive. They don't go into like a dormant or a hibernation, and so she doesn't have the means to stay warm here in Ohio in the winter.
Do we think that somebody released her?
Absolutely. So, given her age, she very well could have been imported from Africa. She could have been a part of the illegal pet trade. Now, nowadays, you can buy African leopard tortoises as long as they're captive bred here in the United States. But this animal here is considered to be a threatened species, so we can no longer import them from Africa. So Lucky could have been bought at a pet shop when she was rather small and cute. Not that she's not cute now. But often the thought is if we buy them small, we can keep them small and we'll be able to take care of them their whole life. There's no stopping Lucky from growing. A male tortoise like Lucky could be over 100 pounds and live to be 85 to 90 years old. And so they are a huge commitment, not only with their size, but their diet and also their veterinary care.
Yeah. I watch Rachel carry up. She's obviously got some weight to her.
Yeah, she actually weighs about 35 pounds. Now, Lucky is actually very small for her age, but you'll also notice that she has some issues with her shell growth. And that comes from not being cared for properly when she was probably as a pet or a small tortoise. So again, very specialized care that goes into these animals. They can't survive in your backyard here in Ohio all winter long. You have to have a means to bring them inside. And then if they were to get sick, we don't have a lot of exotic veterinarians here in the central Ohio area. So again, we have to have very specialized care. Now, Lucky got her name because someone found her crossing the street. They actually thought she was a large rock. They stopped to be a good Samaritan to move her out of the road, and she started walking away from them. Now, this was before the days of social media. We actually put an ad out in the paper. No one ever came forth, which really makes us think that they were trying to pass Lucky on to someone else because she's such a big responsibility. But one of our favorite animals for sure. She's a great ambassador for her species.
You can just see the crowd loves to see something like this. Got one more to go. We'll be back with more with Rachel and Tiffany in just a moment. All right, here's our final one from the wonderful girls at the Columbus Zoo have brought down, and it's always great to wrap up. Probably most reaction of the young people here that you saw earlier was with Trout the penguin here, and Trout is just enjoying this, I think.
Yes, Trout loves an audience. He loves people that he's never met before. So Trout and I are not the best of friends, which is really funny because I have been with Trout since he was just a little hatchling.
Sure.
But he loves people that he does not know, that he's never met before. So honestly, you could touch him on his back. He's going to love you for it.
Is that right?
What you are touching are just tiny little feathers. So Trout here is called an African penguin.
It almost looks like fur.
Right? It looks very smooth and soft like fur, but he is a penguin. He is a bird. So to be a bird, you don't necessarily have to fly. This is not a flighted bird, but he does swim very well in the water. But he's referred to as an African penguin. So he comes from the southern tip of South Africa. He's what we would refer to as a warm weather penguin.
Okay.
And there are actually 18 different species of penguin. What people are always shocked to find out is that only 5 live in cold weather.
Really?
So there are actually more warm weather penguins like trout.
Certainly not
Then
what
there
we
are
think
cold.
of walking on icebergs.
Exactly,
And, doing things like
and
that.
this is probably something that'll even shock you even more. You know where the equator is?
Yes.
The equator kind of separates the northern from the southern hemisphere. When we think about the holidays, we think about polar bears and penguins hanging out in the North Pole.
Yeah.
There are no penguins north of the equator.
Fake news?
Fake news. So polar bears live up north.
Yes.
All penguin species live in the southern hemisphere. So South Pole, Antarctica, absolutely. North Pole, never.
Really?
Exactly.
Really?
So again, those are tiny little feathers, and they actually have more feathers per square inch than any other type of bird in the world.
Oh yeah, she is just
So
packed.
if you put your thumb on trout's back, you'd be covering about 75 feathers just in that small area. And that kind of gives them a wetsuit type of appearance. It helps keep the water out. You might also notice that trout is oily. And that's
Yeah.
just another protective barrier.
Okay.
He has special oil glands that help coat those feathers to keep the water out.
I was gonna
Because
say, when he goes
even
in.
though he's a warm weather bird, the evenings get cool, they get windy. He wants to come out of that water, shake off, and be able to go to his nest and
immediately
stay dry and
dry.
warm. Exactly.
Immediately dry.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Now, is Trout a daddy? Has he been a daddy?
So Trout is not a daddy.
Okay.
He's 8 years old though. He is able to bond. When penguins pair up, they mate for life. However, Trout may think that he's part human. He loves to interact with
You
people.
can tell he's just enjoying
Yes.
this.
So there are plenty of eligible bachelorettes where Trout lives at the zoo,
Oh,
and
you do everything
right,
up there.
right.
How nice.
He's just not interested at the moment, which is perfectly okay. Penguins like this are an endangered species. African penguins are one of the most endangered. However, Trout is an ambassador bird, so he is not part of our breeding program at the moment. If he one day chooses that he'd like to be part of it, then we would love to spread his genetics.
I think he'd love to. He enjoys being with the crowd.
That's right.
He's a people bird.
That is more his niche for
People
sure.
bird. Are
That
they
is
birds?
true. They are birds.
Okay.
So again, they have feathers. They are not flighted, but they still have these wings or modified flippers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's they're just fascinating to watch. When you watch any special on PBS or something, they're just fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and you
I
know,
mean,
this bird can propel itself at over 20 miles an hour. Thank you, Trout, for that little bathroom break. So he is making the kind of appearance that he's flying through the water when he does. But yeah, he's very quick guy. He's very fun to watch chase after the other
he
penguins.
seems pretty
and,
well mannered. I mean, he's just on the table. He looks around.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be
well,
one of.
he has lived at the Columbus Zoo since he was 3 weeks old.
Oh,
he
so
was
he's
hatched at another zoo,
fairly
and
tame.
he's been with us pretty much his entire life.
Well, I mean, this is it's been a joy here. Does everybody like the animals they brought today? I think you hit a winner. Oh, how nice! How nice!
Well, you know, I did want to invite everyone out to the Columbus Zoo. We have a special promotion going for our members this summer,
Okay.
and it's every Tuesday and Wednesday morning. Our members can actually get in an hour early to the zoo and take advantage of some special
Special perks.
discounts.
Perks.
That's right. We have some special keeper talks. You can meet some stars of our new Secrets of the Zoo show on Nat Geo Wild. And that's for our members. Now, if you're not a member, you can come to the zoo that morning, become a member, and still take advantage of those perks. And our last member morning preview is going to be October 6th and 7th.
We've got a while.
So again, it's every Tuesday and Wednesday up until August 6th and 7th.
Well, Rachel, thank you for joining us. Rachel's been a silent partner in all this.
That's
And
right.
Tiffany, thank you for coming down.
Yes.
It's always amazing to have you folks here. The crowd loves it. We love having you here. Have a great summer. We enjoy it very much. Thanks for joining us on Fairfield Today. Thank you.
Interface Video presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and the Frankie Smith Funeral Home.